Good morning, everyone. Dear students, let's continue the chapter Evans Tries an O-Level by Colin Dexter. Evans, in the guise of McCleary, was taken away by Detective Superintendent Carter to the Elsfield Way. The governor was thinking about the escape plan of Evans. From the German question paper, he made a guess that someone from the examination board was involved in the escape plan from the very beginning. Then he scolded Jackson and Stephens. Let's continue. And which one of you two morons was it who took Evans for a nice little walk to the main gate and waved him bye-bye? The governor asked who had left Evans to the main gate. It was me, sir, stammered Stephens, just like you told me. What, just like I told you? When you rang, sir. When was that? The governor's voice was a wipish now. You know, sir, about 20 past 11 just before. Stephens told that at 11:20 the governor had made a call. You blithering idiot. Blithering idiot means fool. It wasn't me who rang you. The governor told that he hadn't rung Stephens. Don't you realize? But what was the use? He had used the telephone at that time, but only to try unsuccessfully to get through to the examination board. The governor wanted to make a call to the examination board at 11:20, but the phone was engaged. He shook his head in growing despair and turned on to the senior prison officer. As for you, Jackson, how long have you been pretending you have got a brain? Well, I will tell you something, Jackson. Your skull is empty, absolutely empty. Then governor turned to Jackson and he told that pretending means make a show. Jackson made a show that he was very intelligent, but his skull was absolutely empty. It was Jackson who had spent 2 hours in Evans' cell the previous evening, and it was Jackson who had confidently reported that there was nothing hidden away there. Nothing at all. Yet Evans had somehow managed to conceal not only a false beard, a pair of spectacles, a dog collar, all the rest of the clerical paraphernalia, but also some sort of weapon with which he had given McCleary such a terrible blow across the head. Jackson had searched Evans' cell thoroughly the previous evening and he had told that everything was right. But Evans had concealed not only a false beard, pair of spectacles, dog collar, but everything which could be needed for a clerical paraphernalia. And he had hid a weapon also with which he had attacked McCleary. Though it was not concealed by Evans, it was brought by McCleary, but the governor didn't know that. A prison van backed alongside, but the governor made no immediate move. He looked down again at the last line of the German. To the Haddington roundabout, where you go straight over and make your way to New Graven. Where on earth? New. Something New Grave. Never heard of it. There was a war grave somewhere near Reading. No, it was possibly a code word. And then it hit him, Newbury. Good, yes, Newbury was a pretty big sort of place. Just then the police van came, but the governor didn't make a hurry. First of all, he looked at the line of German question paper. It was written that from Haddington roundabout, Evans would go to Newbury. And Newbury was a famous place. He rapped out his orders to the driver, St. Aldate's police station, and step on it. Take Jackson and Stephens here, and when you get there, ask for Bell, Chief Inspector Bell. The governor ordered the driver that he had to go to St. Aldate's police station. He had to take Jackson and Stephens with him, and when they reached there, they must make him talk to Bell, the Chief Inspector. He leaped the stairs to his office 3 at a time. Got Bell on the phone immediately. The governor talked to Bell, the chief inspector. Well, we will get him, sir, said Bell. We will get him with a bit of luck. Bell, the chief inspector, told the governor that they would catch Evans if they had good luck. The governor sat back and lit a cigarette. Yeah, gods, what a beautifully laid plan it had been. What a clever fellow Evans was. Careless, leaving that question paper behind, but then they all made their mistakes somewhere. Well, almost all of them. and that's why very shortly Mr. Clever Evans would be back inside doing his once more. The governor lit a cigarette and he was thinking deeply. He was thinking the Evans had made a beautiful plan, but even then he had left the question paper. He thought that criminals made such type of mistakes, and with the help of that question paper, that Clever Evans would be captured once again. The phone on his desk erupted in a strident burst. Just then he got a phone call, and Superintendent Carter informed him that McCleary had spotted Evans driving off along Elsfield Way. They had got the number of the car all right and had given chase immediately, but had lost him at the Haddington roundabout. He must have doubled back into the city. Superintendent Carter told the governor that at Elsfield Way, McCleary had spotted Evans and they had noted the number of the car and they followed the car. But he had disappeared from Haddington roundabout. He must have entered into the city. No, said the governor quietly. He is on his way to Newbury. He explained his reasons for believing so. The governor said that he hadn't entered the city, but he had gone to Newbury. He also told that he had made a guess with the help of question paper. It was a police job now, not his. His was just another good for a gullible governor. He was only a man worth making fun by others, and he was gullible means credible. Who could believe anyone? Only that governor. By the way, Carter, I hope you managed to get McCleary to the hospital all right. Then the governor asked Superintendent Carter whether he had left McCleary in the hospital. Yes, he is in the Radcliffe now. Carter told that McCleary was in Radcliffe Hospital. Really groggy he was. Groggy means extremely weak. He told the governor that he was extremely weak. When we got the examination office, they rang for the ambulance from there. When they had reached the examination office, they had rang the ambulance and the ambulance came from hospital and he had reached hospital in that ambulance. The governor rang the Radcliffe a few minutes later and asked for the accident department. The governor wanted to confirm and he made a call to Radcliffe Hospital and he wanted to talk to accident department. McCleary, you say? Yes, he is a person. I don't think there is anyone. The receptionist held the phone and she told that there was no patient of named McCleary. Yes, there is. You will find one of your ambulance picked him up from Elsfield Way. The governor told that the hospital ambulance had picked him from Elsfield Way. Oh, that, yes. We sent an ambulance all right. But when we got there, the fellow had gone. No one seemed to know where he was, just vanished. The receptionist told that they had sent ambulance, but when the ambulance reached there, the fellow had gone from there and he had disappeared from there. But the governor was no longer listening, and the truth seemed to hit him with an almost physical impact. Now the governor was not listening, and he was able to recognize that truth was something different. A quarter of an hour later, they found the Reverend S. McCleary securely bound and gagged in the study in Broad Street. He had been there, he said, since 8:15 a.m. when two men had called. After 15 minutes, they found that the Reverend S. McCleary was bound in church and cloth was pushed in his mouth. He was in his study room in Broad Street. He told that he had stayed there from 8:15 a.m. when two men came and they captured him there. Inquiries in Newbury throughout the afternoon produced nothing at all, and by tea time everyone in the prison knew what had happened. Inquiries continued, but nothing was found. At tea time about 4 o'clock, they were able to know what had happened. It had not been Evans impersonating McCleary who had walked out. It had been Evans impersonating McCleary who had stayed in. Evans was not that who had gone out impersonating McCleary, but Evans was that who had stayed in impersonating McLeary. The fish and chips were delicious, and after a gentle stroll round the center of Chipping Norton, Evans decided to return to his hotel and have an early night. From the prison, Evans had gone to Newbury in Chipping Norton, and he had stayed in a hotel, and he enjoyed fish and chips. After that, he went for walking. Then he decided that he would return to the hotel very soon, and he would have an early night. A smart new hat concealed the wreckage of his closely cropped hair. His hair was closely cropped, and he purchased a smart hat which concealed means hid the wreckage means ruin. He kept it on as he walked up to the reception desk to the Golden Lion. In the Golden Lion Hotel, he was wearing the cap. It would take a good while for his hair to regain its former glory, because to regain the former beauty, it would take a time. What the hell did that matter? But it didn't matter for him. He was out again. At least he was out of the prison. A bit of bad luck when Jackson had pinched his scissors. It was his bad luck that Jackson had taken his scissors, for it had been meant a long and tricky operation with his only razor blade the previous night, because he had to cut his hair with the help of razor during the night. But he had had his good luck. Just think, if Jackson had made him take his bobble hat, that really had been a close call. Old Jackson wasn't too bad. Then he was thinking that it was his good luck also that his bobble hat was not removed by Jackson, because Jackson was not so bad. If his hat had been removed, the whole plan had been ruined. One of the worst things funny really had been the beard. He had always been allergic to sticking plaster. He was thinking about his beard, which had been pasted by him. That was the artificial beard which was produced by McLeary. He was allergic from plastic. Even now his chin was irritably sore and red. Sore means chale padna. His chin was irritably sore and red. The receptionist was then the same girl who had booked him in, but the change was definitely for the better. When he came in the hotel after stroll, he found that the receptionist was not the same girl who was earlier when he had enjoyed breakfast. He collected the key. He gave her his best smile, told her he wouldn't be bothering with breakfast, ordered the Delhi Express, and asked for an early morning call at 6:45 a.m. He told the receptionist that he would not take the breakfast the next day, and he would order the Delhi Express train, and he had to rise up at 6:45 a.m. Tomorrow was going to be another busy day, because he had to make plan the next day also. He whistled softly to himself as he walked up the broad stairs. When he was going the stairs, he was whistling. He had sort of liked the idea of being dressed up as a minister's dog collar and everything. He was thinking about the plan which was chalked out to escape from the prison. He liked the idea of impersonating just like a person. It had been a jolly good idea for McLeary to wear two black fronts or two collars. It was jolly good idea that McLeary was wearing two coats and two collars. But that top collar, it had kept on slipping off the back stud. There had been the one panicky moment when McLeary had only just got his hand up to the neck in time to stop the collars springing apart before Stephens. When Jackson was searching McLeary, he had kept his hands up, and it was very terrible moment because the collar was slipping from him. They had got that little problem worked out, but everything went on okay. A pen stuck in the mouth whenever the evil eye had appeared in the peephole. Then they thought whenever Stephens peered from the peephole, Every time there was pen between his lips, easy, but all the fiddling about under the blanket with the black front and the stud at the back. But in the blanket itself, he had worn the clerical coat and collar had been far more difficult than they had ever bargained. It was difficult from that also what they had thought. Everything else had gone beautifully smoothly, but everything went smoothly. Though in the car he had found everything they had promised soap, water, clothes, and the map. Yes, the map, of course, the Ordnance Survey map of Oxfordshire. Because with the help of that map only he was able to reach Chipping Norton. He had got some good friends, some very clever friends also. He unlocked his bedroom door and closed it quietly behind him. When he reached upstairs, he unlocked the bedroom and locked from inside, and then stood frozen to the spot like a man who had just caught a glimpse of Gorgon. Gorgon is a terrible monster. Just like one who had seen the terrible monster, he stood frozen on the floor because he had seen the governor who was sitting on his bed. Sitting on the narrow bed was the very last man in the world that Evans had expected or wanted to see. Evans had never expected that he would see the governor there. He didn't want that the governor should reach there. It is not worth trying anything, said the governor quietly. The governor told that nothing could be done by him now. Evans' eyes darted desperately around the room. He stared at the room. I have got men all around the place. The governor told that there were so many people to surround him. Well, there were only two, though there were only two, and Evans didn't know that. He let the word sink in. Women too. Didn't you think the blonde girl in reception was rather sweet? The governor told that women too were there with him. The blonde girl means girl with beautiful long hair who was on reception. Navo had come with governor. Evans was visibly shaken. He was afraid. He sat down slowly in the only chair the small room could offer and held his head between his hands. For several minutes there was utter silence. Utter means complete silence. Finally he spoke. It was the bloody correction slip, I suppose. Finally Evans spoke that governor had reached there with the help of correction slip. Well, the governor failed to mask the deep satisfaction. Mask means hide. There are a few people who know a little German. He was feeling proud that he knew German. Slowly, very slowly, Evans felt relaxed. He was beaten. Beaten means defeated. And he knew it. He sat up at last and managed to smile. You know, it wasn't really a mistake. You see, we hadn't been able to fix up any hotel. Then Evans told that he hadn't left the slip by mistake, but they hadn't fixed up any hotel. We couldn't worked that some other way. They had to change the name of the hotel, but that was not possible for them. The really important thing was for the phone to ring just before the exam finished. After that, he started telling the governor all his plan, how he had implemented that. He told that main important thing was just before the exam finished to get everyone out of the way for a couple of minutes because Evans wanted that he should be left alone for 5 minutes. That was why his men had called Stephens that he must go to say goodbye to the minister, and we had to know exactly when the exam started, and that was why they wanted to know when the exam started. And like a fool, I presented you with the little piece of information. Then Evans told that, like a fool, he had given all the information to the governor. Well, somebody did. So you see, sir, that correction slip killed two little birds with a single stone. With the help of that correction slip, they were able to solve two problems: the name of the hotel and the exact time the exam started. The governor nodded. It's a pretty common name. Then the governor told that Golden Lion is a pretty common name. Good job is a pretty common, sir. I had never have known where to come to, but I was not able to understand where to come. Nice name, though Jum Golden Lion. How did you know which Golden Lion it was? Then he asked the governor, How was he able to know which Golden Lion hotel was there? Because there are hundreds of Golden Lion hotels, same as you, Evans. Index number 313, center number 271. The governor told that as Evans had reached, in the same way the governor reached, because index number 313 was written on paper and center number 271. These six figures, if take an ordnance survey map for Oxfordshire, you find that the six-figure reference lands you bang in the middle of Chipping Norton. If we see the six-figure number, that was a code, that it would make them reach at Chipping Norton. Yes, you are right. We hoped you would run off to Newbury. Evans told that he had thought that he would reach to Newbury. We did. Governor told that they had gone there. That's something, I suppose. That question paper, Evans, could you really understand all the German? Then the governor asked whether he really knew German language. No, of course, I couldn't. I knew roughly what it was all about. He could make a guess only. But we just hoped it would throw a few spanners in the work, so to muddle everything a bit. Even then he had thought that everything would not be clear for him. The governor stood up. Tell me one thing before we go. How on earth did you get all that blood to pour over your head? The governor asked from where the blood had come which was poured on Evans. Evans suddenly looked a little happier. Clever, sir, very clever. How to get a couple of pints of blood from a cell? He told that it was very clever that he had got the blood in the prison, when there is none there to start off with. When the invigilator, shall we say, get searched, the invigilator was also searched and no one had come there? Yes, sir. You can well ask about this, and I ought to tell you after I might want to use that particular. Evans told jokingly that he wouldn't tell about that. He could need that formula later on also. Anything to do with the little rubber ring for piles? The governor asked whether it was something about the rubber ring for piles. Evans grinned feebly. He laughed. Clever though. Yes, it was there in the rubber pipe. Must have been a tricky job sticking a couple of paints. You have got it wrong, sir. It was difficult to keep blood in that. Then Evans told that it was not difficult, no problem about that. It's a clothing, you see. He asked the governor. He must be thinking about clothing. That's the big trouble. We got the blood easy in a pig's blood. It was the blood of pig from the slaughterhouse in Kiddington. But to stop it clotting, you have got to mix your actual blood. In that blood of pig, actual human blood was mixed. Evans took a breath. With 1/10 of its own volume, 3.8% trisodium also. Didn't know. He asked governor whether he was familiar with the formula. The governor shook his head in a token of reluctant admiration. The governor admired Evans, though he was not interested. Reluctant means not interestedly. We learn something new every day. The governor told that criminals taught them everything every day, some new ideas. Evans made no show of resistance. Evans was not opposing, and side by side the two men walked slowly down the stairs. Tell me, Evans, how did you manage to plan all this business? You have had no visitors. I have seen to that you have had no letters. Then the governor asked how he implemented the plan, though there was no one inside the prison and he had no letters. I have got lots of friends. Evans told that he had many friends. What's that supposed to mean? The governor asked what he wanted to say. You mean by my German teacher, for a start. From the very beginning, my German teacher. But he was from the technical college. The governor told that the teacher was from the technical college. Ever tried? Evans was almost enjoying. And becoming happy, Evans asked whether he had tried that he was from technical college. God Almighty, there is far more going on than I. The governor was very surprised. He was thinking that the things were far more from his reach. Always will be. Evans said that in future also such things would happen. Everything ready? Asked the governor as they stood by the reception. When the governor was standing beside the reception, he asked whether van was ready outside. The van is out the front, sir, said the pretty blonde receptionist. With beautiful long hair, the receptionist replied that the van had come. Evans winked at her, and she winked back at him. Winked means aankh marna. It almost made his day. Evans was very happy. A silent prison officer handcuffed the recaptured Ivan. Evans was captured once again, and silent prison officer handcuffed him. Handcuffed means hathkadiyan dalna. Together, the two men clambered awkwardly into the back seat of the prison. With the prison officer, Evans climbed on the back seat. See you soon, Evans. It was almost as if the governor was saying farewell to an old friend after a cocktail party. When Evans sat in the van with the prison officer, the governor said goodbye, and he told that they would meet very soon in prison. He said goodbye just as a man says goodbye to a friend in a cocktail party. Actually, the van was of his friends only, which they had asked for the remand case. That was a fake call, and which was made from magistrate court for a prison van and two prison officers. The same van was produced by the man of Evans, and the governor was not familiar about that. Cheer. I was just wondering, I know your German is pretty good, but do you know any more other modern languages? When Evans climbed the car, he asked the governor that his German was very good. If he knew other languages also, not very well. Evans settled himself comfortably on the back seat, grinned happily. Laughing, Evans settled comfortably on the back seat. Nothing, I just happened to think they have got some O-level Italian classes coming next September. Evans asked the governor whether he would manage Italian classes for Evans the next year. Perhaps you will not be with us next September. Evans, James Roderick Evans, appeared to ponder the governor's words deeply. The governor told that perhaps Evans would not be gracing the prison and the next year till September, and Evans was enjoying the words. No, perhaps I wouldn't. He told that he wouldn't be there. The prison van turned right from Chipping Norton, from the Oxford Road, hitherto silent prison officer asked the handcuffed and leaned forward towards, for Christ's sake, get a move. It wouldn't take them to time. Evans told that they must go hurriedly because the governor wouldn't take time to follow him. Where do you suggest we make for? Asked the driver. The driver asked in broad Scotch accent where they had to go. It means the same impersonated McCleary, who had come to do the duty of invigilator, was now doing the duty of a driver. He asked where they had to go. What about Newbury? Suggested Evans. Evans told that they must move towards Newbury. In this way, Evans was able to escape for the fifth time also. When the governor reached the prison, he was surprised that even then Evans had cheated him from the hotel also. Okay.